It's time to talk Padres baseball.
This place is electric.
Our 97.3 The Fan staff is together to break down everything, both on and off the field, with the San Diego Padres in our commercial-free Epic Padres Roundtable, sponsored by Epic Wings. Buckle up, Friar Faithful. We've got a lot to discuss. Now, here's your host, Ben Higgins.
Yeah, we've got a lot to discuss, but losses not included among them in the last week since we had our recent Epic Wings, Epic Padres Roundtable. Welcome back in, Padres fans, to 97.3 The Fan. And we've got our third different guest panelist joining us for our Epic Roundtable with Bob Scanlan sitting in the middle. Let's all say hi to the big right-hander.
Thank you, guys. My maiden voyage. Appreciate being here. It's quite an honor.
We're happy to have you. And I thought we were going to have to actually go to the right-hander the way the game was going last night, but turns out we could have just, left them in the bullpen. Unbelievable.
We've also got Chris Ello, you just heard, Stephen Woods, Braden Surprenant down on the end. I think maybe the first week of the season last year when the Padres were 7-0, this is the first time we've gone roundtable to roundtable without having to talk about a San Diego Padres loss.
Feels good.
So we know the results have been good. So let's start with that. Are we seeing the best version of the San Diego Padres right now, or is there still areas where you feel like this team can unlock more as the season goes on? Braden, I'll let you start at the end today.
I think you can always, unlock maybe some more. I don't think this team like them playing at their best. They still have, a couple of guys not swinging as well as you would think they would swing. Really hit their full potential, I don't think, and even guys in the starting rotation. I mean, Michael King said it the other day. He's pitching well, but he doesn't feel like he's pitching the best that he could possibly pitch. So I think from that perspective, this team can definitely get better. And I mean, I don't think Jake Bower's going to hit 140 the entire year. So just with that improvement could help improve this roster a little bit too. So I still think there's a lot more that this team can do, and it's great to see them playing as well as they have so far this season.
Bob, how hard is it as a player to sometimes separate results and performance? Because they try to do it often. When things aren't going well, you often hear, hey, but we're taking good at-bats, or, pitches are moving, we're getting some bad luck. Sometimes the other way around, things are going well, but you still have things you need to work on and get better at as a team, even though the results would say can't do much better than 10 wins in 11 games.
Yeah, it's a great question, and you're always trying to find that balance, right? I think early in the season, especially with the offense, it was frustrating because you didn't see the results in terms of batting average and OPS and, all the things that we normally look at. But then when you looked internally, you realized, wait a minute, these guys are hitting the ball as hard as anybody in Major League Baseball. I think they were fifth early in the season in terms of average exit velocity and second in terms of the most hard hit balls coming off the barrel. So you're looking at and saying to yourself, how come we don't have any results from that? Some of it had to do with who they were facing, a bunch of very ground ball heavy oriented starting pitching. So a lot of those hard hits were going right into the ground. So to your point, do you fix something, or you just ride out that storm of facing Framber Valdez and the power sinker guys and say, no, we're actually doing a lot of good things here. Let's stay with it. And as we've seen, the numbers are starting to change. They're still hitting the ball hard, but now some of them are getting in the air, and we're seeing more home runs. So the power is starting to show up. As far as, and I totally agree with Braden in terms of, hey, there's more there, right? From the starting rotation, you talk to these guys from the bullpen. There have been some issues at times also. But what I think they are doing extremely well are two things. First of all, they're taking advantage of the opponent's mistakes incredibly well. In fact, despite the outages that we saw in the offense early on, you're asking yourself, well, wait a minute, how are they still winning games and staying around 500? They actually had the most unearned runs scored in Major League Baseball. The average was about 3 per game for most, 3 for this in the season up to that point. The Padres had 12. So they were making the most of the opportunities that they were given. And on the flip side, we're not beating themselves. They're playing great defense. They're not walking a lot of guys, and they're making some stellar plays that we've seen, but also like the robbery of the home runs that we've seen from Jackson Merrill, and we've seen some nice plays on the infield, throwing out the guy at home the other night with Campy making that night slide. So they've made the exceptional plays, but they've also made the everyday plays. So I think that's kind of what helped them early on, and now we're starting to see some of the bats starting to come around as well. So more to be tapped out of it. They've done a really nice job of not beating themselves and taking advantage of opportunities that were given them early on.
Yeah, Chris, I think you mentioned something about the good fortune that the Padres had exemplified in the ninth inning last night. Not a hard hit ball by Gavin Sheets, not a hard hit chopper up the middle, not a hard hit blooper by Ramon Laureano, but it all added up to a 5-run inning. That's some good fortune there.
Jackson Merrill's ball was fair by maybe an inch. So let's add that in. I don't even know why we're talking about whether there's more to tap into. I was at softball last night at the Poway Sports Complex. When Merrill got the hit, the celebration was something I haven't heard since Jake Cronenworth's hit beat the Dodgers in the playoff 4 years ago. The place erupted. So I thought we've already won the pennant, so what are we worried about improving? I think that's a win to celebrate last night. I'm not really thinking about the things that Braden said, Bob. They're absolutely right. Fernando, I think, has still got to get, rolling. And even though he continues to hit the ball hard, it seems to be caught all the time. But that was just great. That's the second time in 6 games that they've won a magical game. You sometimes don't get 2 of those a season. And they've done it on this homestand. And I just the one thing I want to point out, because I know people are all thinking about Merrill and his catch and his hit. That's the second time on this homestand that they've been down to their last out. And Luis Campusano has kept the game alive with a hit.
100%.
These are the kind of things that you look back on, I think, in a championship season. So I'm just kind of in the glow today. Woods, in terms of what the Padres can still unlock, Braden mentioned offensively, not just Tatis, though. I mean, who's hot? Xander is
Xander's
locked in pretty well.
Yep.
And Ramon Laureano, for the most part, has been really good. Outside of that, you can't really point to someone in the Padres lineup who has been consistently a good offensive performer for the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, man, and you can brightside a lot, and I think it's valid in a lot of cases. Again, Fernando, I see it all the time. It's in my DMs, like, man, we got to get him going. And I'm like, he's going. I don't know what to tell you. Like the balls aren't falling, but he's going. Like Manny, not getting, he's not getting his singles and his doubles, but he is getting on base. These guys are it feels like a less selfish version of the San Diego Padres than I have seen in the past. And it's based on some of the comments I've read as well. Manny talked about it last night. He goes, yeah, we're down 4 runs. I can go up there and try to hit a home run. He goes, but I saw 7 pitches. I got the walk. Rally started. It's those little things. Before it was, I got to get mine. I got to get mine. I got to get mine. Now it's like, we got to get ours. And it's I give Craig Stammen some credit, give his staff some credit, give New Blood some credit, whatever. But it certainly feels like a less selfish version of the San Diego Padres.
I love that point. And I think one of the moments in this season so far that really puts an exclamation point on your comment right there, Woodsy, was when Fernando comes up and he puts down the bunt.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean,
I never want him bunting, by the way, but it makes perfect sense, right? Like he was like, I got to do something to help my team win. I'm not getting lucky right now, right? Like I'm not, they're not falling for me. So what can I do to help my team win? Because I hated the early bunts last year. I hated them early in games. But a guy like Nando for me, a guy like Jackson for me, I'd like you to swing away, but I do appreciate it once it's done and it worked.
I totally get that. And one of the most endearing moments that I can remember watching as a broadcaster at Petco Park, and I say endearing because I love the bunts. I love small ball. And I remember watching Albert Pujols one time coming up with a runner on second base against the Padres, and he put down a bunt.
See, that would make me insane. He's like one of the greatest hitters of all time.
He's one of the greatest hitters, but Woodsy, he's also one of the
baseball player.
Thank you.
Baseball player.
He's one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
I say it as the reason I say it's Ken is because I was the guy that couldn't hit and I was an elite bunter. So anytime I see somebody that loves to bunt, I'm like, you must be a crappy hitter.
Yeah, no,
what I mean? That's how I roll.
I get it. I totally get it. But I love those moments, and I love when a player puts the team ahead of himself. And he also understood, it sends a message to the rest of your ball club. I have faith in you.
For sure.
You're going to watch Jackson, then I got faith in Manny. You're going to walk Manny. All right, then we got faith in Xander, and he hits a grand slam home run. And so I just felt like it was maybe one of those pivotal moments when you look back on a season, you say, what were the big moments? And, I love Chris mentioning, Campy coming up with some big hits in those late innings. But that was just a moment for me where I just thought, that's where the team, because when you are struggling, it is easy to get into yourself.
No doubt.
Right? And I want to be the guy. I need to turn things around. Here's my opportunity to be the hero and get things going in a different direction. And instead, it's like, what do I need to do to help the team? What does the team need right now? It needs a bunt.
Yeah.
And it needs to send a message to the rest of my teammates that I have faith in you guys. So I just thought that was a cool moment.
Yeah.
My favorite thing in baseball, Woodsy, is a leadoff double and a long fly ball to left center field that doesn't move the guy to third. I mean, I'll take the bunt.
How about a ground ball to the right side?
Yes, I'll win the game.
Yep.
I'll let the guy hit the bomb to left center, and then we'll go another extra inning. So winning baseball.
I'm a big time in place guy. I am a big time in place guy as it pertains to bunts. And, you watched last year, guys sacrificing in the first inning. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of ball game here to be giving away outs because that's what you're doing. There's only 27 of them to play with.
Didn't they do that Sunday against the Rockies and get a run in the first inning and a run in the second inning?
Yeah, they did.
Not to relitigate last year, Bunting is good and fine. I don't think you should have twice as many as the second most bunts in baseball from last year.
Who cares where it ranks in terms of everybody else? If everybody else doesn't appreciate it and doesn't use it or can't execute it effectively, it doesn't matter if you have more than other people.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, Bob. It's not bad to be on an island, but these are smart teams with analytics departments. And if there's 29 other teams that are saying, this is not smart for us to bump this.
It's not necessarily that they don't say it's not smart. It's that they don't have guys that can execute it a lot of times as well.
Bob, I'm wishing you the best of luck. They put you in the middle so that they can gang up.
I got big elbows. I can block out in the middle of the paint. Don't worry, Chris.
In the entire discourse about bunting, the biggest picture is this team is finding different ways to score runs. And so it is a little small ball. It is sometimes the long ball, and they're doing exactly they're doing exactly what the game calls for. And when you have an offense that can do that, you have a very dangerous offense in any level of baseball. The teams that just rely on the home run, those teams usually don't win either, right? Yeah. So if you are multi-dimensional like the Padres have been, including bunting, which I know a lot of people don't like, you're going to have an all-around offense that's going to score runs. And when the sticks don't work that day, you drop the bunt down. When you got a situation where we can get the bats hot, keep letting the ball fly, then you can go out there and swing it a little bit. But at the end of the day, you just got to score more runs than your opponent, and the Padres are finding ways to do that.
Yeah, we don't complain about wins around here.
We are off and running on our Epic Wings, Epic Padres Roundtable. Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen. For the next 2 weeks, order any combo meal, add 5 wings for just $5 to the end of April. That's a phenomenal deal on phenomenal wings. Well, I know enough about moderating these things that I know it's time to change the topic because we do not want to spend an hour on bunting,
don't we?
Let's move on to the biggest off the field issue for the San Diego Padres.
How about the bunting that they're going to put up around the stadium when we get to the playoffs?
For the playoffs.
Talk about projecting into the future.
Let's talk about Nick Pivetta. We're going to miss him, Bob. I'll let you kind of explain a little bit since you've used your arms more than the rest of us. And
what does that mean?
Flexor strain in the tendon. What does that mean? Padres fans kind of want to know what's the story here on Nick Pivetta and what are the chances that he's going to come back and be the effective Nick Pivetta that they need him to be, at least in the second half of the season.
Great question and an important question, right? And so good news, bad news, right? Good news is about bad news, elbow problem. Good news, it's not a UCL. At this point, it doesn't seem to be a Tommy John type situation. Bad news, it's a flexor. Flexor can be agonizing and put you on the shelf for a long time too. Good news, it's not torn. So from what we know, it's a strain of the flexor, which can heal. And we, at this point, have every reason to believe that we will see more Nick Pivetta before the end of the season. Generally, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks before you're able to start resuming your throwing and everything. And then, of course, he's going to have to build back up. So it's just a question at this point of how quickly does that flexor tendon muscle heal itself? How quickly can they get him back? But at this point, we can be cautiously optimistic that we'll see more Nick Pivetta before the end of the year. That being said, you're missing your top guy, for quite a while here at some point. So, Joe Musgrove, how close is he getting back remains to be seen. Canning should be here close, right? I think he's got a rehab assignment tonight, if I'm not mistaken. If everything goes well, he should be up to 75 pitches or so. He can then join the rotation. You got Matt Waldron going on Friday, strategically put so that he does not have to throw in Colorado. So that's a good thing. So anyway, the point is, hopefully Nick Pivetta is back before the end of the season. From the reports we've received, there's reason to believe that can happen.
We're emotional creatures as baseball fans. Woods, you're an emotional creature at times.
Indeed.
Did you react to the Nick Pivetta news yesterday more as good news or bad news on Nick Pivetta based on what you were expecting?
I mean, bad news. You're missing your literal. When you say the term dog gets thrown around a little too much for my liking in baseball these days, but he is.
But it could have been worse.
He's a DAWG. And when you miss a guy like that, that's like, don't worry, just give me the ball. I got it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to punch a lot of guys out. I'm going to be intimidating. I'm going to scream into my glove. I'm going to scream at the umpires. I'm getting everybody fired up. When you miss that, and you had another one in Joe Musgrove that's also standing by watching, you're missing two of the dogs of your rotation. So it's up to the offense. It's up to the other guys to execute, limit the damage, right? There will be damage. We all know there'll be damage from Buehler and Marquez and maybe even Waldron. Limit the damage, keep your team in a ball game, let your offense do the work, turn it over to this really good bullpen. Is kind of got to be the formula. But yeah, man, I think I looked at it as definitely glass was half empty.
I'm usually an optimist. Chris, you know this about me as well. I was fearing the absolute worst.
Sure.
I actually, when I heard flexor tendon strain and rehab in a couple of months, I kind of thought, that may have been like almost best case scenario. I was not expecting Nick Pivetta to miss a start and then just come back.
But how many times have we seen when a guy does come back, and we all hope that happens the way we're talking about here, you actually look at it and say, silver lining.
The rest did him good.
He's fresh at the end of the season.
Right.
Exactly.
The Dodger way.
Postseason,
right.
You got the bunting that Chris Ello was asking for just a couple minutes ago, and you've got a guy that's got 2 months less of wear and tear on his shoulder. So who knows?
Yeah. Is this bad news or is this okay news for the Padres, Chris?
I think what's happening with Joe Musgrove is secretly good news, because I think they really wanted Joe Musgrove to make 15 or so starts this year, just matter when they were going to be. The fact that they're being forced to hold off on those, I think, is going to end up being good. Losing your ace starter for 2 months cannot be good. It just can't. Maybe there'll be a silver lining, as Bob said, but it's going to take a combination of guys to make up for your number one starter. The minute he bit into his glove the other day, standing on the mound, the initials of that former Dodger left-hander, popped into my head. And so I would say from that standpoint, anything other than that has to be considered a sigh of relief. But I can't put it in the good news category.
It's certainly adding more pressure on some of the guys who are already in the rotation, like Walker Buehler and Germán Marquez, to at least continue to make their starts and give the Padres chances to win. I wanted to ask you guys, we're about to see Matt Waldron. We've seen a couple of starts, 3 from Walker Buehler, Germán Marquez. Buehler going to go again tonight. In your mind, Braden, of those 3, which one has the best chance of being a mainstay for the Padres rotation for the rest of the season? Like someone that you think is going to last all the way to the end of the year. If we had to pick one of those guys as your horse for the rest of the season, who gives you the most confidence?
For me, it's Walker Buehler. But to go back to what you guys were saying about the Pivetta thing, this gives it an opportunity to really find the right one, right? I mean, it gives you an opportunity for all 3 of these guys to extend their tryout, if you will, where if Pivetta did not go on the injured list, now it's like, all right, well, we need Matt Waldron. We got to see what Matt Waldron's got at the big league level. Who are we getting rid of to make this happen? And you could make, maybe a risky decision. Now it plays itself out, which I think is good. The other thing that I think is interesting with the Nick Pivetta thing is his contract. Because if he's on the injured list for 138 days, that option becomes a club option, right? So like if he plays well, if he comes back and he comes back after August 21st, because that would be 130, whatever we did the calendar on that, then all of a sudden it becomes a player option. If he comes back and pitches well, you get him back next year for $14 million. Or if he doesn't come back at all, then he doesn't opt in and your cost, it's costing you for the next year. So I think any way you look at the Pivetta situation, you can look at it from a glass half full in terms of overall outcomes. Walker Buehler, to me, out of that group, I like the way he competes the most. He's going out there to compete every single time he starts. I think he's reinvented himself as a pitcher. He's not relying on his fastball. He knows his fastball is not, has the same juice that it used to. He runs into a little bit of issues when it comes to command, but I think he's done a really good job of using his pitch mix, using a lot of secondary pitches, and being competitive to get outs. And to me, I think that's going to last a little bit longer than Germán Marquez. Look, Walker Buehler's biggest problem has been walks. Germán Marquez doesn't walk a lot of people, but when he misses, it goes over the fence. And that's a little, you can't, as much as you can't stop a walk, you can't stop a home run either. And one swing of the bat gets you a run. So that's how I see it. I think Matt Waldron has a pretty good chance of getting a couple of starts here in a row. I like the fact that his velo's up. It sounds like how he did in AAA was very good. His strikeout to walk was amazing in AAA. But you have a lot of options right now that can get you to the point of either trade deadline to add to the rotation or at least maybe until some of these guys start coming back.
Chris, I think Braden laid it out pretty well. There's positives and negatives with all three of those guys, Waldron, Buehler, Marquez. Which one do you have the most faith in as being a lasting member of the Padres rotation this season?
Well, the one thing I would say about Buehler, I don't think he's reinvented himself. I think he's reinventing himself. I don't think he's there yet. I think he's still searching. Marquez does scare me. The ball's in the middle of the plate. It's leaving the yard. With Pivetta out, my 5-man rotation that I personally would feel most comfortable with over the next 2 months would be King and Musgrove, hopefully, and Vasquez and Waldron. And maybe it's just because I haven't seen him, but I just am intrigued by Griffin Canning. And I think Buehler holds that spot. But I'm looking for Canning to come in and make a big contribution.
Well, your answer is Waldron then, because you included him.
Yes,
and
right. Waldron over
Buehler
the other two, though. Yes,
and Marquez.
Yeah, Waldron was the best pitcher on our team 2 years ago for a couple of months there, wasn't he? So I hope he's better than that now.
Bob, you've got thoughts, I'm sure. You saw all of them at spring training extensively. Your thoughts on kind of those three and which one you have the most faith in this season?
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of jaded because I look at all of those guys and think to myself, I can justify any one of those three, being a mainstay in the rotation because they've all been working on stuff, kind of like Braden was talking about and Chris had mentioned. Some of the reinventing is still going on. I think that's the case for Marquez as well, working with Ruben Niebla. I know that with both Walker and Germán, they've been working on mechanical stuff, trying to get consistent with those mechanics, reshaping some pitches. Marquez going from being a slider guy to more of a curveball guy, trying to learn all that, tipping his pitches in that first game, which caused some damage. And we've seen and with Waldron, like you said, he's throwing harder. He's pitching more aggressive now. Talking to him the other day, he just said, I didn't change anything mechanically or do anything different. I just have a different mindset. I'm being aggressive with my stuff and everything's coming out hotter and better. So I could see any of those guys contributing. Same with Griffin Canning. What I saw in spring training was very impressive. Watching his bullpens and just thinking, I can't wait till this guy can cover first base. Let's get some depth on this in this rotation. We know what Joe's capable of when he comes back healthy. So it's one of those things where right now we're looking at it and saying, wow, this is kind of a dicey situation that we've lost Pivetta and Joe's not back yet. On the other hand, who knows? Maybe in 3 or 4 weeks, we're all of a sudden looking at it and say, man, look at the depth that we've created because, as Braden mentioned, we've gotten a chance to see more of these guys. They've gotten more of a chance to do the things that they're working on with Ruben. Waldron's getting a chance to show what he can do at the big league level now with his more aggressive approach. And all of a sudden, you may be thinking, man, we can actually go with a 6-man rotation or something. So who knows? We don't know how it's going to play out, but I guess I can justify seeing any of those guys being contributors on a long-term basis.
Is there anything to the fact that Ruben Niebla has looked people in the eye since spring training and said, I'm telling you, Germán Marquez is a guy I like?
Yeah, he told me.
Is there something to that?
Yeah, I mean,
to me there
Ruben.
is.
I trust
We're
Ruben.
not seeing it, but if Ruben Niebla's seeing it, he's a pretty good guy to listen to.
Yeah, he told me that off the record. I mean, this was not in a sit down, and we were talking about the guys that they brought in and dead in the eye and just said, hey, there's something. And I was like, all right, I'll take your word for it. I mean,
right.
Who else are you going to listen to?
Right?
Yeah. I mean, look, and no scout or pitching coach or hitting coach or manager or infallible, certainly, but he's about as close as you get, I think. If you see something in there that he's a tweak away. But for me, I don't know why. I have a good feeling about Matt Waldron. I do. I feel like he can stay. I remember vividly him carrying this team, starting around my birthday, July 19th, in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago, and just put this team on his back for a while. And he's done it. And he has a different kind of look about him, a little different confidence, and he's kind of doing his own thing, the way that he wants to do it. and using the knuckleball a little more sparingly. The velo's up on the heater, which has just got to be such a frustrating AB. So I'm excited. I'm also excited to see how the knuckleball plays with ABS, as I mentioned with Eno Saris today. What's that look like? With that ball dancing around the zone. I mean, it's tricky for the catcher. It's tricky for the umpire. It's tricky for the hitter. It's gonna be fun.
I think for me, and Bob laid it out why there's reason for optimism for all three of those guys. The best pitch of all three of them, I think, is German Marquez, that knuckle curve. When he has got it going, we see the strikeout numbers pop up pretty quickly, which is what any pitcher kind of needs to survive. I think the best competitor of the three, I mean, clearly Walker Buehler. You can just see kind of almost in his eyes that he does not want to lose. He wants to compete. He wants to go deep in games. But Matt Waldron, as you mentioned, Chris, carried the Padres in 2024 in the middle of the season, and his stuff wasn't even as good back then. It's definitely better now. And if he can do that then, and now he's added some velocity and he's throwing the knuckleball a little bit harder. His fastball command, Bob, pretty good. I mean, something that he prides himself on, being able to move that fastball around. I'm always told that that's maybe the most important thing that a pitcher can have is fastball command on the big league level.
No doubt about it. You got to have it to start to set up anything else, right? Guys aren't going to chase the other stuff if you can't locate that fastball. And again, going back to my discussion with him the other day, and Wizzy echoed it, he's more aggressive right now in terms of his delivery and his mechanics and everything. And he just feels like I am going down the mound, I'm going down the hill with aggression, and I'm making my pitches more effectively instead of feeling like, and we've seen it before. Sometimes guys, when they start throwing cutters, they lose their four-seam fastball. He's working on a knuckleball. You start easing it in there and everything else just becomes just a little bit more tentative. So I'm very curious to see how the more aggressive Matt Waldron plays out here at the big league level, and if that fastball command is even sharper than what we saw before.
It's our Epic Padres Roundtable on 97.3 The Fan, presented commercial-free by Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen. And with Bob here, I thought let's spend some time on a fun question, baseball question, but a fun question. What do you all imagine, and in Bob's case, probably no, because he was a big leaguer, is the best thing about being a Major League Baseball player?
Oh, man.
I can only imagine what it might be. Bob, I'm sure, has his opinions on it, having experienced it. And the funny thing is that my answer would be something that I only hear them complain about. I think it'd be cool to get to travel around to different cities and,
out of your mind.
On the private jets and get all the travel set up and taken care of for you.
You get a whole row to yourself.
Nice
they give you a Game
hotels.
Boy.
I always feel like that would be the best, and yet it's the one thing that they say is the hardest part about being a Major League Baseball player. Chris, what do you think would be the best thing about being a big leaguer?
Well, I think anybody who knows me knows where I'm going here. I like a lot of free food, and I like it available at all times. So I'm gonna go with that. But I having traveled in the minor leagues, Ben, as I have broadcasting in my career, and bus trips and commercial flights. Yeah, it's hard for me to listen to those guys complain about the plane trips they get. And even if they get in at 4 a.m, somebody carries their bags up to their rooms for them. They got it made, man.
Woods.
I was going to harken back to some words that Crash Davis told us all on the bus. I mean, look, getting a chance to even go to fantasy camp in the minor league, right? The spring training facility. It's the conditions. The conditions, the field is perfect. You never get a bad hop. The balls are white. The box is perfectly, it's perfect. The mound is perfect. Everything is perfect. The bases are bright, shiny white. And you're out there on those fields. You're playing in the stadium game, and you're looking around, and it's the spring training stadium, and you're like, this is everything. And I got to play at Petco Park one time too. That's the thing. I'm like, how do you guys ever complain about anything? You get to play in these cathedrals every single day on these perfect conditions. The grass, you can't even describe it, what it feels like under your feet. It's incredible. That for me is, plus getting like free bats and gloves and batting gloves and cleats and all that stuff is so elite, man. So elite.
Braden, what do you think would be the best thing about being a big leaguer?
I kind of like to travel. I mean, I travel with college teams all the time, and that's like one of the coolest things I did as a college kid is when I traveled with TCU football. It was like the coolest thing, and we were in places like less than 24 hours. I mean, it was like quick. And for baseball, you're in a lot of cool cities for like 3 maybe even 4 days. And I know it's tiring, it's exhausting, but that to me seems like such a blast. And honestly, I think all of you guys brought up like everything that's great about being a big leaguer. And the ultimate deal is they get paid to play a child's game.
Yep.
That's the coolest thing. Like their day at work is playing a game 162 times. That's that's got to be the coolest thing ever, is being able to do that for a living. And I think we get to do stuff like that for a living. I mean, talking about sports for a living is so cool that we get to do this. So, a little bit of the travel, but just being able to play a game that we've all played since we were 5 years old. And that's our job. That's so cool.
All right, now let's get the real answer to the question from the actual big leaguer on the panel.
You know what he's going to say? I'm going to tell you. I know Bob and I've known him a long time. He's going to say the best thing about being a big leaguer is the fans that used to boo him when he was warming up on the side at Wrigley Field. His own fans. That's what he's going to tell us.
Come on, what is it you really enjoyed?
I love hearing your guys' perspective, and then it's the free stuff. That's the most important thing: the free food, the free goodies, the free batting gloves.
Crazy.
The travel is definitely elite. They try to make it as comfortable as possible, and the truth of the matter is you're still getting in at 4 a.m. after just playing a game, and the next day your livelihood depends on being sharp the next day. And so there's that constant pressure. And don't think that when you're in Washington that the guys are spending time at the museums.
Right.
I mean, we go to these towns and how fun, you're getting to go to wherever it may be. We never see the town. We see an airport, we land on the tarmac, get in a bus, go to the hotel, 4 a.m. A lot of guys do go in and pick up their own bags. Sorry to disappoint you.
They do get their own bags?
Some guys get their own bags. Okay. Yeah, a lot of guys do, actually. And then you try to get some rest, and you're at the ballpark the next day. You're on a bus to the ballpark the next day at 11:30 or 12 o'clock, and you spend the rest of the day at the ballpark. So it's not as though we're cruising around. I'm not trying to say anything. The travel's amazing. They take great care of us. Love it. It is sort of part of that experience of your jet setting, right? You're going to different parts of the world.
Yeah, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh,
wherever it may be. Cincinnati, all the hot spots.
But in the summer.
Right. I mean, but it's so that there are some. I know it looks glamorous, but when you're actually doing it on every,
I did it as a sales guy.
It's intense.
And I had the Midwest as a territory, and I had the West as a territory, and it's like, this is the worst.
Yeah, no, I admire guys
bags.
that take care of themselves. That because it is a grind, especially over 162 with baseball. Anyway, but
that's fine.
That's not.
That's what I want.
So what did I love? What did I really love and appreciate most about my big league experience? I think it was being part of a fraternity of guys who were the best in the world at what they do.
No doubt.
That was the coolest part, I think, and getting to be a part of their lives. They're being a part of my life, both on a personal basis and in a professional way.
We know what you mean, because we feel that here. We're the best at what we do.
Exactly.
Slightly above average sports talkers.
Creme de la creme. And also in the midst of your job, you're doing what you love to do, but you're also doing it at a level that is the best in the world. And you're constantly being pushed to see how good you can be. And the stakes are high, because if you don't do well, you're out. So anyway, I think that's one of the things that I appreciated most about
I don't know if you guys watched the Jeff Passan. He's got the new podcast out. He had Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens on, and I learned something new. I want to run it by Scan quickly. The pitcher's spa day. Is this something you've heard of?
What? No, what's this?
So it's the day after the start. They now call it, I guess, in the big leagues, the spa day. Now, relievers don't get the same love, right? But the Skeens, Skubal, both are like, oh yeah, it's hot tub, cold tub, massage. Just relax. I'm in a bath. Tarek Skubal said I'm in a bathrobe walking around the clubhouse it's my day. I just pitched yesterday, and we call it a spa day in the big leagues now. And Skeens was like, yeah, that's what they call it. And they just relax and chill. And
Manny's.
They don't do anything. Just hanging out. Wow. And I thought to myself,
cucumber water.
I thought to myself, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Things have changed. I can tell you that. Things have changed. It was not spa day back when I was
spa day. What was the day after a start for a guy? Just running poles and
got it. It was get out and run your tail off. It was run your tail day. Yeah. Sweat as much as you possibly can. Just keep running. Put yourself in a misery to try to work out the lactic acid.
That's right. The old lactic acid.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were born too soon.
You could not go into the training room.
No, you're not allowed.
No. Can't make the club in the tub.
Now they're getting massages. They're in the hot tub and bathrobes.
It's changed for the better in so many ways in terms of the preventative stuff that they do.
No question.
Yeah.
It's our Epic Padres Roundtable, brought to you by Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen.
Are we done with that subject, or did you get to go?
I did.
He said travel.
Okay, because I just wanted to say there's got to be somebody out there listening to this or watching on YouTube who's saying, cashing the check, you idiots. Isn't that the best thing?
The check is pretty good.
Nobody mentioned that. Point. I just thought I'd throw it in there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The check's good when you're playing well. When you're not playing well, it doesn't matter what the check says because you wear it. Period.
Let's talk a little catching. Hopefully, Freddie Fermin is okay and doesn't have to go on a concussion list. They'll review him this morning when he gets up. But even if he is, has Luis Campusano played his way to become the primary catcher for the San Diego Padres, or is Fermin, his experience with his intangibles, is he too valuable to have on the bench, more than half of the time? Who's your starting catcher going forward? Chris, I'll let you start with us here.
I think Campusano has gotten himself to a point where he can be sharing time. I always worry, until further notice, I always worry about a guy who's kind of playing once or twice a week, and then handing them 7 days a week, because it's a lot, or 5 or 6. It's a different deal. So I think I'm really happy for Campusano. My goodness, what he's gone through, some of the tweets we've read, some of the posts people have made. The guy had to go more than a year without one hit. So I couldn't be happier to see him having a little success here, but I'm not ready to give him the job, but I'm ready to see a little bit more of an equal distribution for the time being.
I'm shocked, Braden, that we're having this conversation, but the numbers are the numbers, and Campusano has been red hot at the plate, hitting 300 plus with slug. Fermin has been ice cold almost all season long. At some point, the offense does have to play a part of the equation, because Campy has not been bad by any stretch behind the plate. He's been good as well.
He's been great on the ABS. You kidding me? The guy's a wizard.
He's really
back
good
there.
on that.
He's been great with the ABS. I agree with Chris. I think he's earned some more playing time, and he's already gotten more playing time this year than I thought he was going to get. I thought when they said we're going to give Campusano every chance to show what he's really got, I thought that was a little bit of coach speak at the beginning, but they have. I mean, they've given Campusano every opportunity to show what he still has, and what he can be, and what I think the Padres thought he could be when he was a top prospect coming up. So I agree a little bit with Chris. Sometimes you kind of want to let these guys stay in their environment because they're having success there, and rushing them up a little bit too quickly. You start seeing different things, right? It's the same thing with guys batting lower in the lineups.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's raking down there.
Put
It's
three-hole.
Let's have a bat leadoff. It's I don't necessarily know it's going to be the same kind of at bat up there in the leadoff spot. Sometimes you are protected. So right now, if you want to give Campusano an extra start a week, assuming all things are equal and Fermin's healthy, I think I'm okay with that. But it's also how comfortable are are the pitchers throwing a Campusano, right? I mean, Scan probably knows more than I do. I know they have those pairings sometimes from that perspective, but I think Campusano's earned more starts. I don't necessarily know I'd put him as a starter yet, because it's still only been a handful of games.
Bob Scanlan's our guest panelist, and I know you've addressed this on the Padres.tv broadcast, but give us a little bit of your history with catchers, how important that relationship is, the trust factor, and what you see between Freddie Fermin and Luis Campusano right now.
Yeah, it's huge, right? As a pitcher, you always want to be comfortable with that guy behind the plate, and I think we're all on the same page in terms of agreeing that we love seeing the progress that Luis has made on both sides of the ball. I know last year watching him really put in just a ton of work to build those relationships with the pitchers.
Has he cut King every time this year?
I think so.
I think he has. It seems like they've had a pretty good relationship.
Yeah, with Pivetta going down and Fermin having been his catcher, it kind of opens the door to decide. I mean, Campusano, I'm sure, worked with Waldron probably last season in the minors as well, so that might just naturally give Campusano a few more chances to play as you switch out those pitchers in the rotation, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think we all are on the same page of agreeing that, you know what, Luis is doing a fine job. It's not by accident. It's because of work that he's put in on both sides of the ball. I think there's also just a different calmness and maturity that we see in him in terms of managing the ball game from behind home plate. I thought that play at home the other night where he was able to, make the nice swipe tag, it didn't seem like the situation sped up on him. He seemed like, and I think that was an important part of his maturity as well. So I think we're all on the same page of feeling like love to see what he's doing. And he's earning opportunities to get more playing time, because I think previously it would have been very much more Freddie Fermin with a fill-in at times by Campusano. Now maybe we can share it, but I think it's probably going to be a shared situation through the rest of the season. And to your point, Ben, in terms of Pivetta working with different guys, Craig said at the beginning that he wasn't particularly inclined to make it, one catcher catching one guy all season long.
That lasted like 2 days.
That doesn't mean that it wouldn't change and develop, right? And Craig's also said, look, he's moving the lineup around quite a bit right now, but that's not what he wants it to be by the end of the season. So I think all of this is a work in progress, but the good news is Campy's giving us a lot of reasons to continue to feel good about what he's doing.
I have a question in terms of like the pitcher catch relationship. If you've and Scan, you're a nice guy, so I don't know if this pertains to you as much, but like for maybe catchers that you didn't trust as much, because some guys don't, and now you're pressed into it. How difficult is it, or how long does it take during the season for Campusano to get on that level with some of the guys that might have to throw to him, considering maybe the circumstances or the fact that they want him in the lineup more? How much does that play in as a big league pitcher?
Look, sometimes, honestly, I had guys that I never got on the same page with, and it was just a horrible experience because I didn't trust that guy back there, and we would just battle, and I'd spend the whole game not going to work.
Wow,
it's no fun. And now I'm spending more time shaking my head, and now start doubting myself. Why is he so convinced that I should be going with this? I feel like, and now I start doubting myself, and now I'm not 100% committed to the pitch, no matter whether it's right or wrong.
Crazy.
So yeah, those are really tough situations. Fortunately, I only had a couple of those, but for the most part,
I can't believe you even had any. I mean, you would think every catcher would want to try to, when I was, this is no big league level, but we had a catcher in high school named Ron Barness. I hope he's out there somewhere, or somebody knows this guy, because I haven't mentioned or heard of him in 35 years. But he caught me perfect in high school, and I hardly ever gave up a run. And I felt if we signed Johnny Bench, I would have still asked our coach to get Ron Barness back there, because I was getting everybody out. I was that superstitious about it.
Yeah, Beverly
Hills High. Mr. Westlake. Come on.
Are you serious about bringing up Ron Barness's name?
Do you know him?
Not only do I know him.
Oh, come on.
His younger brother is my longest friend. Dean Barness. He and I went to Beverly Vista. I just talked to Dean the other day.
What is happening?
Ron Barness was one of the most influential people in my baseball life.
What?
Ron caught in high school.
Me.
I had no idea that you had any connection with Ron. This is crazy.
That is unbelievable.
This is your life.
This is really weird.
Ron took me under his wing and said, we are going to turn you into a big league baseball player. And we had dedication.
I wish you would have told me that.
No, this was
because you're left-handed. Because you're left-handed.
Yeah, I didn't have the stuff. Yeah,
this is crazy. Ron took me under his wing. He said, we're going to have dedication summer. And so every morning we would get up at 5:30. He'd come over to my house. We'd put in a run. We'd work out during the morning. We'd have 2 days. In the evening, we'd go out and work out again. Ron taught me the work ethic that I had that helped me get to the big leagues. And I'm forever grateful to Ron Barness for his influence.
Did he make it to the show?
He did not. He played at UCLA.
God, no. He hit like 043.
Well, he had an accident as a kid. He actually had a piece of wood go into his eye, and so one of his eyes was damaged. So he actually played college baseball, yes, but he couldn't see because of the eye damage.
Unreal.
But he still was able to catch.
You know what, Bob? If I can make Chris Ello be a player that plays at San Diego State, I could get you.
Right, if he got me to San Diego State, that was a bigger thing than getting you to the big league.
I could get you to the big league.
Yeah,
no problem.
That's a good point, Braden.
God bless him. He passed away.
Barness, where are you?
He passed away. So I regret to tell you.
To the story.
But Ron, thank you.
All right, well, Ron, who knows? How about that?
Super Sky Point to Ron Barness today.
All right, well, speaking of childhood, it's time for our 7th inning stretch, Bob, which is a fun non-baseball question we do every week. I'll let you think this one over. Woods, you can start with us. When you were growing up, what was your dream car?
Oh, my dream car?
Your dream car, yeah. The one you wanted to own when you were a
Knight Rider.
Oh,
Kit.
Knight Industries 2000?
Yeah.
Well,
Or the.
It's funny you said that because I wanted the DeLorean.
Probably.
Which I've heard is the absolute
like
worst
dump.
possible.
Yeah, it's the worst, terrible
you can
car.
never get.
What was
the doors that open on the side? I thought that
stainless
was
steel.
cool,
Yeah.
It'd be okay if it came with Dr.
thing.
Brown, though.
Yeah.
How much did the flux capacitor upgrade cost?
That's what I was going to say.
Kit was what, a Trans Am?
Think so.
I think so. Yeah, Black Trans Am,
that's when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That was it for me.
But with a computer with a British accent.
I
that
was never huge into cars. But I can vividly remember being a kid and going. I mean, I also wanted to fly the Millennium Falcon. So
it's funny because you don't like Star Wars at all.
I don't now, but I did when I was a kid.
It's cooler to like Star Wars and Star Trek.
Braden, dream car.
I don't know. I mean, I'm like Woods. I'm not super into cars. So but like when I was growing up, like Transformers came out and they brought the new Camaro back, or they brought the Camaro back. And so like in high school, I was like, oh, it'd be super cool to have a Camaro. And then I'm an adult now, and now I have a Camaro, so that's kind of cool. But my family always drove trucks, so like everything was always about a truck. I'm like one of the only ones that doesn't drive a truck in my family, but probably say a Camaro, I guess.
Chris, how about you?
I was pretty
Southern California lifestyle,
Beverly Hills. Yeah. I
Some type of convertible.
I didn't get into the car thing very much. I thought it'd be nice to have a really, really sweet BMW, I think. And I've been pretty lucky in my life working in the minor leagues broadcasting because a lot of car owner people have owned the teams I've worked for. So I got lucky to get some nice cars along the way, but never a BMW. I've never known those people, but I'm happy pretty much in any. I'm not a car guy.
All right, Bob, you have a dream car growing up?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I wanted a red Ferrari.
A red Ferrari,
Magnum
like
PI.
Yeah. Legit.
No doubt. And then I figured out at 6'8", I was not going to be fitting in a Ferrari.
No.
And then when you got that big league paycheck, what did you actually?
What
did you buy?
I bought a Saab.
A Saab.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sensible,
Very
sporty,
classy.
sensible.
No,
car.
it was
Very
a
nice.
sensible car at the time. Yeah,
Very
because I was
nice.
still driving back and forth from spring training. I needed to put a lot of stuff in it. It
Love
was a
it.
workhorse, and so I'm still living vicariously through my dreams. I've got a red car out in the parking lot at Tesla. So
They
close-
say,
close
they,
as I
say
can
they
get
get
to
pulled
Ferrari.
over. Red
That
cars
counts.
get pulled over more often.
They do.
They do.
You do. All right. But they see Bob Scanlan's driving, like, you're Bob Scanlan. No?
No, that does
help?
not happen.
Doesn't help at all.
unfortunately.
No.
All right,
Partial
last few
bit.
minutes here of our Epic Wings.
Wait, what was yours? Oh, the DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
Okay.
Yeah.
DeLorean,
Epic
that's
Wings,
hilarious.
Epic Padres
DeLorean,
Roundtable.
that is crazy.
You in a DeLorean would be incredible, by the way. Just to see like you
With-
getting
but
out of a DeLorean.
but with
Might have to
Doc
make that
Brown's
happen,
hair.
guys. Let's all chime in.
Would be
Let's
so cool.
pull one in here.
I know this has been a bit of a national topic in the last few days with Mason Miller's unbelievable start. So, Braden, do you consider Mason Miller to be a legitimate Cy Young Award candidate this year? And what would it take for him to actually win that award in this day and age?
Candidate, yes. I don't know. I don't know about. I just feel like they've come up with reliever awards that they're just never going to have a guy like him, win it. I guess he would have to basically give up maybe like 2 runs the entire year. So it'd have to be something absolutely absurd for them to be like, all right, dude, we have to give him the Cy Young. We have to vote for him for the Cy Young. I think the numbers that he puts up and what he has done is so impressive that people are going to vote for him to be a Cy Young. It's hard. I mean, they're going to just keep pointing him to the reliever of the year awards and be like, well, that's your award. It's going to be different. So I think it's going to be very difficult for him to do that, but I definitely believe he's a candidate. I bet you he gets votes.
It's funny what's because I'm a realist and I expect every reliever, obviously, like Adrian Morejon is unbelievable, but the balls are going to fall in. You're going to give up some runs. It's hard to imagine Mason Miller going through a bad phase right now, the way that he is pitching. If he keeps going on like this, he's got to be a candidate.
I'm telling you, it's going to be like the most jarring thing for our fan base ever when somebody reaches out and pokes one over the fence or he loses the zone.
Lourdes Gurriel was the guy last year, right?
And it was like right when we got him.
Yeah.
I was on vacation in Hawaii. I go,
We didn't even know him that well yet.
No.
All right, well, he's human. And then since then, he's been completely unhuman.
He literally, nothing's happened since then. He's insane. And watching him in the playoffs last year, I went, oh my God. I've never seen a mutant like that before. And so, he should be a candidate. But listen, the Major League Baseball is going to fall all over itself to give it to Shohei Ohtani if he keeps pitching the way that he's pitching, and he'd probably deserve it. I mean,
Paul Skeens getting left in the dust.
Paul Skeens, yeah. I mean, this is with Shohei pitching the way he is right now. That's pretty tough, dude. It's good, big company.
I believe there should be a bias toward a starting pitcher who's going to throw a lot more innings over the course of the year. But if there is no starting pitcher that has a insanely good year, I mean, Skeens has already absorbed a horrible start. Crochet is, different league, but guys have just one terrible start. They're going to have a 3-something ERA. You never know. Does that open the door for Mason Miller at least a candidacy?
How many weeks are we into the season?
I know this is a round table,
exactly.
Bob.
Exactly.
Why are we even talking about
Play
this?
along.
Play along. He said he wanted a. He said he
We
wanted
don't
a
let Tony
DeLorean.
come anymore because Tony always says it's early in the
Context of this
season.
And he'll give me this side eye look.
Yeah,
like, you're crazy. It's
No,
like
We're just focused on the next game. It's the most
Let's
important
just
game.
on a general topic. Am I okay with a reliever winning the Cy Young Award? Yes. Steve Bedrosian won it when I was over in the Phillies organization, and obviously starters. You can argue with good reason have the most impact in terms of the innings pitched and all that kind of stuff, but don't take away the importance of having a closer at the end of your bullpen that actually affects how a manager uses all 5 of the rest of his guys setting it up and how that can alter the course of a ball game. Along with just the emotional thing of, when we got a lead, it's ours. Shut it down. There's nothing more emotionally draining than losing ball games in the 9th inning. So what he has done, as everyone agrees, is it's almost inhuman. I've never seen a run like this. I've never seen somebody so dominant where the only question is this guy going to even be able to put a feeble ball in play, let alone get on base? It's been incredible to watch, and I hope it continues because this is it's groundbreaking, and I'm in awe every time I watch it, and hopefully we can have this discussion in about 5 months.
Chris, you always talk about, award season conversations.
I picked him to win the Cy Young.
Okay, so you definitely believe he's a candidate.
Go back to our baseball preview. He's faced 27 hitters. That's a whole game. 7 guys have put the ball in play.
In play.
7.
1 single. 6 in plays for outs.
And 6 in plays for outs and 20. I think walk was in there, and then the
5
others,
in plays for outs and 20 strikeouts.
Look, Mark Davis won the Cy Young as a reliever for the Padres. Go look it up. 1993, something like that.
I remember that season.
Left-handed pitcher.
He was good, but he wasn't. No Mason Miller.
He was not even close to what Mason Miller is doing. So to say that can it happen? Of course it can happen. I think Woodsy's bringing up the best argument against it is that they love Shohei and they always want to promote him. But through 1 month, I would have to vote for Mason Miller right now.
3 weeks
in,
100%.
Come on. I think he can win.
I think one of the biggest snubs still is Trevor Hoffman not winning the Cy Young Award in his, 52, 51 save season?
Gagne won it with 55, too.
Yeah.
But
there's been many relievers to win it along with Bedrosian. So I think it's very doable, but it is going to be tough to be. Look, Skeens won last year with a 10-10 record. So starters don't even have to be that good anymore because they blow everybody away with the analytics. So
he's
I'm
just,
worried for Mason Miller, but I'd
just
like
quickly,
to see
Bob, we got like a minute and a half left. What is it that's obviously the velocity, the slider, but there's other, Aroldis Chapman throws really, really hard too. And he's got some nasty secondary pitches, but
what's it look like down on the
beatable.
field, Bob?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It looks ridiculous on TV.
I try to put it in perspective and put myself back in the days where I faced, Billy Wagner one time, throwing 100 miles an hour, and I was able to foul one off. I thought that was such an accomplishment.
It is.
It was a preseason spring game, but still, this is amazing. It's at a different level in terms of not only the velocity, but I think the other part of it is he's commanding it, right? He's not all over the place.
Right.
He's getting to his lane.
Like Chapman was.
Yeah, and talking to him about it, part of it is because he has changed how he's viewing the plate. Instead of this sort of like, just get it over the plate, just throw strikes, he's chopped it up into thirds. And so it's like aim small, miss small concept. So to see what he's able to do in terms of getting to his lanes on a consistent basis as a hitter, you can't just sit there and think, oh, I'm going to work a walk right here. And the other part is the slider so tunnels the fastball. It looks exactly the same.
So it comes from the same lane.
Yeah. Same
and
arm
the batter
slot,
has to start swinging when he releases it to have a chance.
And we've seen that. We've seen guys missing that slider by 3 or 4 feet at times. So it's that combination of the stuff and the command and the tunneling. It's remarkable.
Bob, another winner. Thank you for coming in. We're out of time. Thank you to Epic Wings
guys.
for bringing you our Epic Padres Roundtable. Last 2 weeks for the sweet and spicy maple sauce, which is a favorite of the 97.3 The Fan staff. For Braden Surprenant, Stephen Woods, Bob Scanlan, Chris Ello, I'm Ben Higgins. Thanks for joining us on the Epic Padres Roundtable on 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.
From the first pitch of the year to the biggest games down the stretch, Padres talk never stops. Roster moves, injuries, trends, and